Okay, good evening. Yes, good evening to our listeners. Good evening and welcome to Real Talk. Today, the 12th of January, time passes by quickly, and we are already on the 12th of January. Soon to come, January is gone. So we can tell how fast time runs. And so, welcome tonight to our program, Real Talk. We have with us tonight our political leader, Honorable Dr. Thomson Fontaine. And I am host tonight, Derek Glenroy, so Cuffy with you. And we expect your participation because, this show is about educating and, informing, but also we are, open to, dialogue, open to questions, we're open to suggestions. And so we have always said that this is not a spin zone, this is an unspun zone. You don't spin things here, we come straight with you. And so, Doc, as we go straight into it, tell us what has been happening over the weekend. Tell us what was it like for you and your Nigeria Workers' Party team. Just give us an update as to what have transpired over the weekend.
Yes, so very good night to you, of course, and to our many listeners. It's great to be back on Real Talk. It's amazing how quickly the weeks go by. They really fly past. We're already on the 12th day in the month of January. Right. And I must say that this weekend was very good, very special, as we continued our engagements at the constituency level. Myself, the president, and a couple of members of our team, we actually attended church service in a very scenic and beautiful village, a fishing village of Saint-Sauveur. Very tiny village, but one with quite a lot of history and really beautiful, very scenic. And so it was great. We were able to be there and spend the time with the people, greet persons who came, and of course engage them. I was able to officially send New Year greetings to them. They graciously allowed me to send New Year greetings, to his congregants. I was very thankful for that opportunity. And just the engagement with the individuals, both before we got there very early, and we were able to spend some time with them, and that went very, very well. So we are very thankful for that. And so it was a good day. It was good, a little bit different, but certainly something that we enjoyed, so that was good. That was very, very good and very encouraging to see, the response of the people and what they did and what they told us. Absolutely.
Oh, yes, certainly. And it appears that you all had a wonderful, day. And it is nice hearing that, the United Workers' Party Team Dominica was welcome in this regard. And we do want to thank the many persons who have been engaged with us and to at least welcome the team in Saint-Sauveur. Saint-Sauveur is a fishing community, as we know. And I just hope the fisher folks out there, happy catch all through this year, so that they can bring some earnings. We were told sometimes people make $45,000 a day in fishing. Well, I don't know where that figure came from, but if such is the case, and this is a fish farming community, then obviously we wish that you can actually get some of that proceeds. But
it is very interesting that you mentioned that, because when I had a chance to address, some of the people there, I reminded them that as a child, I would walk from Glenroy to Saint-Sauveur, because it's just a very quick walk. It took us less than an hour just to walk from Rosalie across there. You had a nice track there. And that as a kid, we would come and get our balao and our flying fish.
Wow.
In particular, during those times, we catch a lot of
very good,
especially flying fish, And but that doesn't happen again. We were hoping by now that the road would have been built. The government of Dominica spent quite a lot of money trying to basically attach about a mile and a half of road. So it's not very long to connect Rosalie to Petit Surfer. And they claimed that there was a big stone in the road called um, Wash Mac.
Watch back, man.
Watch Mac. And they were not able to go around this, and they just abandoned the project. And can you imagine that this village is so close to Grand Fort and the other villages in that area, the southeast, that it would take, for example, with road, by vehicle, it would take us about 5 minutes to get there. Now you have to go for almost 30 minutes, 35 minutes, because you have to go all the way around the Fupokase area to get to Petit Surfer. It's just complete madness. So that is something. In fact, when I had a private conversation with some of the constituents, we promised them that the United Workers' Party government will, in fact, open up this road, because we believe that it will allow that village to sell their fish, and it will also allow us, because we don't have fishing on the southeast except for that area, and so it's something that will allow us in that area, Grand Fort, Rivière Civic, Mont John Lapin, going all the way back to Daly's, to be able to run down there quickly and get fish, because they do catch a lot of fish in that area. It's a nice naturally sheltered harbor against the Atlantic Ocean. And so they're able to bring their boats in without any difficulties. So it's very, very, good for fishing. And it would be able to strengthen that particular area and help the fishermen in that area once that road is opened up. And not only that, but by opening up the road, we'll be able to open that area to more agriculture, because there are lots of agricultural land in that area. And as you know, so we have already promised the people of Dominica that we're going to go full time into agriculture. We are going to revamp the agriculture sector, and that will mean open up of new areas, new lands for agriculture. And that is one area that we are targeting. So with the road there to service the people of this community, but also to be able to go into agriculture in a more sustainable and a bigger way. So it was very good to be able to relate that to the people of Saint-Sauveur and Soufrière yesterday.
Yes, and it is interesting. It is interesting that the government of Dominica can choose to mine at Dewash, but they cannot take out that big stone in the road.
Yes,
But they have removed many big stones in Dewash.
You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. But this government really, I mean, can you imagine this? But also the fact that you will start to build a road, you would spend the millions, and then you just abandon the project. And it is not being used. It cannot be used because no vehicles can pass there. And as I said, it's about a mile and a half of road, no more than that.
No more than that.
And so it's amazing. Under the United Workers' Party government, we were able to open up quite a lot of areas in Dominica, the same areas that were opened up, by the way. For example, the Petit Savan to Daly's Road that we opened up as a government. The Labour government, after 15 years of promises since Hurricane Maria, they have not been able to open up that road again. Right. So if, God forbid, anything happens to the Rosalie Road, there is a landslide or the bridge fails or something, the entire southeast will be cut off from the rest of Roseau, because there are no other outlets out of that particular area. So it's very, very, very unfortunate that we're in this situation and almost complete neglect. In fact, one of the villagers told me that they feel that this government has completely neglected them. They don't feel like they are part of the country. They don't feel like that they're taken seriously. One gentleman told me, man, he used to make so much money on the workers, and he's just longing for that day. He said he supported the Labour Party the last 2 elections, but he's ready to get them out because his life has gotten worse. He said he used to have money. Now he barely have the money to offer his friends a drink. Things are very difficult for him. And that's the story that we keep hearing over and over again. Labor rights saying that they're fed up because their lives have not been improved. And that is what it's all about after all. So that's why we're in this, to improve the lives of the people of this country. And we're doing it, and we're starting to spread the message one village at a time.
Yes, and that's why tonight we are taking the opportunity to at least visit this topic by trying to identify, and you will tell us more about it later when the question has been asked, about the social issues that might maybe impacting our youth today and possibly mental health. So we'll get straight into the topic, but before that, I ask you the question going forward and many other questions. Let me just give a preamble as to where we're going with this discussion. So we can say safely that the age from 10 to 24 is an important changing period in the life cycle of young people in Dominica, from dependence to independence, from tender age to adult age, from primary to secondary school, and on to tertiary education, and or into the labor market. So if you don't want, if when you leave school, you could choose to either go to work early or not, once you can find work. Well, not many young people were able to pass through this period without some setbacks or feelings of uncertainty, meaning not performing at school, failing exams, parental discord, problems with friends and parents and family, and of finding gainful employment at first job attempt. In such cases, these life changes or challenges will be short-lived or transitory and have hardly any influence on the young people's lives. Dr. Fontaine, what is your view regarding young people and the struggle that they encounter on a day-to-day basis as they actually face challenges on a day-to-day basis?
So that's been one of my biggest concerns as the leader of a political party in Dominica, basically working on taking the reins of power. One of the things that struck me very, very powerfully is the plight, if you like, of our young people. And I talk about the plight of our young people because countless of them are leaving school, they're not able to get opportunities. And now, with the imposition of the partial ban is by the United States on travel to that country, is going to be even more difficult because a number of our students who otherwise would have been able to go out to study, they can no longer do so. So we do have a concern on that front, but an even bigger concern are just the large number of young people who simply do not have an opportunity here in this country. And last night, I had the opportunity to talk to some of the young people in my constituency. And I was a bit dismayed because a number of them are telling me that they're looking to move out. And they were actually asking me if I had connections in St. Kitts and Nevis and in Antigua, because all they know is that they want to get out. And
Wow.
they're trying everything possible to do that. So we are continuing to lose our young people to these other countries. As you know, there are literally hundreds of Dominicans now in St. Kitts and Nevis, in Montserrat, in Tortola, just a very large number of young people. And even from my own village, we have a number of young persons from my village in Tortola and in Antigua and in St. Kitts and Nevis now. And it's just really something that we are losing them in such large quantities. But an even greater concern are the number of young people that we're losing through violence. And not only losing through violence, but the number of young people that we are losing through mental illness and mental issues. We have been told that the psychiatric unit in Roseau is very heavily populated at this time. As you travel to the various villages across Dominica, you will find a number of individuals who are mentally deranged or going through some mental issues. It is very heartbreaking that so many of our young people find themselves in that condition. And so it's something that we are very much concerned about. And we also have the expressions of violence that we see. Last year, there were 23 or 24 murders or homicides, mostly of young men. There was only one exception. There was a young lady who was killed by her boyfriend, and then he took his own life. But outside of that, we had the deaths of 23 young men. In one case, there was a double shooting. Two of them died at the same time. And, we just continue to see that repeating over and over and over again. And already this year, Thankfully, the young man did not die, but there was a shooting, a drive-by shooting again in the village, in the town of Portsmouth. That happened just 2 days ago. Another young person shot. Thankfully, he survived his injuries and he's been treated at the hospital. But it tells you that the violence is not over. It tells you that basically that diminishing of our young people continues. And so we need to address this issue. We need to address this issue. And I must say that we heard from the Prime Minister. He talked about the whole idea of unity, the time for us to come together. But we did offer to the Prime Minister of Dominica, we offered the expertise, we offered the council, we offered the grouping of the opposition to set up a bipartisan committee that will look at this issue of violence, that will take this issue of violence very, very seriously. We cannot continue to lose our young people to violence. We can't continue to lose our young people to mental illness. We cannot continue to lose our young people to just arbitrary migration because they can no longer live or survive in Dominica. So there are things that we can do. There are ideas that we have. There are suggestions that we'd like to make to the government, but we have to do it in the setting of a bipartisan committee. And we put that forward. We put that forward a few weeks ago. We have not heard anything from the government of Dominica, which tells us that they're not taking this very seriously, and they should. You absolutely have to take this issue of the young people very seriously. When you realize that every single community that you go to, there are mentally deranged young people. And part of that deranged syndrome, of course, has to do with the level of drugs and so on. There is a rampant drug use sometimes in some of those villages, causing our young people to go astray. So there are problems there that needs to be tackled, that needs to be, dealt with a matter of urgency. But we are not seeing that urgency in the government. We are not seeing it. And so, what we can do as an opposition is limited. We can keep agitating, but the government has the resources. The government has the ability to deal with those things. What they need is a plan to do it, and we are offering to help with that plan. We are offering to put forward our professionals. They've already spoken to professionals in the diaspora in particular who have that kind of competence, who are willing to provide that competence to government. So we are again making this appeal. We need to tackle this issue of our young people. We need to tackle this issue of hopelessness, this issue of just mental degradation, of just this, I come back to the term hopelessness because that's the vibe that you get, when you talk to the young people, like the young people I was talking to in my own village. I'm trying to encourage them. I'm trying my best to say, hold on, we are coming. There'll be a change in government. We'll do it. But they're like, no, we need to move now. We don't have the resources. We don't have any monies in our pockets. I can no longer keep depending on my mother because she herself does not have to give me, and you have this desperation, man. It is heart-wrenching, when you hear the stories, when you talk to these young people and you realize that, man, these are lives that have been wasted. These are lives that could be better. These are lives that could be contributing to the growth and the development of this country in a meaningful and positive way. It should not be that to contribute to your country or to build up your own life, you're forced to leave your country. All right, because as I said, there are thousands of us in the United States, in the UK and elsewhere. We are working, we are building up these other countries, and we needed here in Dominica, we do not have those opportunities. So that is something we absolutely have to deal with. We absolutely have to ensure that, we get this done.
Yes, and I'm happy that you were able to give us that intro with respect to, young persons and the plight that they face. And just as we continue to deliberate on the issue, I will take into account what the statistics that was revealed in the last census of the state of Dominica, 2011, I think was the official last one, and it revealed about 26% of the population are made up of young persons. between the ages of 10 to 24. That was equivalent to about 17,600 persons. That's quite a lot. And by the way, as the population age and fertility remain constant or decrease, obviously over time that figure may decrease. But for the time being, we can conveniently probably stay in par with that piece of statistic. Maybe it is lower now. And you find that a lot of young people face a lot of social problems, poverty being one, education, some of them drop out. And when I say about poverty in real crisis, not having the economic means to survive, the parents themselves do not have work. Remember, to under this government, the legacy of this government is that Dominicans should not be employed. Even though you're talking about young people, you're talking about the chain of things happening where their parents are not, or their grandparents are not employed and not being able to support them. Talking about education, where you have a lot of dropouts. Some people fail exams, they're not performing well at exams, and a number of issues. And I know it is very hard, and some people they feel frustrated, they want to leave school, the dropout rates are high. And do you feel a sense of recovery? Because there are other issues. Take, for instance, I know some time ago when the poverty assessment report was revealed again, even in the St. Joseph community where you had agriculture thriving, and at one point in time, even the St. Joseph community and environs were labeled as the breadbasket of Dominica. Today, they experience more than 40% of poverty. What do you make of these statistics, though?
Here again, I mean, what we have is a government that has quite clearly failed the people of this country. Those rates of poverty, and look at the areas, look at the pockets of poverty that you have. We're talking about villages like St. Joseph, like the Kalinago territory, like Soufriere. These are some of the areas with the highest rates of unemployment, the highest rates of poverty. And it has to do with a government that has, quite frankly, given up on its citizens. I cannot imagine that you're not even trying. I mean, we gave the example earlier of the road and the fact that they've not been able to even complete that road. Even when the monies were made available, they simply gave up and left the people literally in the misery. And when you think about that, there is absolutely nothing going on in these constituencies and in these villages. I mean, village after village that you go to, there is nothing going on. Literally no type of economic activity. Some villages are luckier than others. They can plant a dasheen, they can plant a plantain, and they can get something out of agriculture. But even then, it is really a kind of a struggle, because even where agriculture flourishes, it is not on any major scale. No major markets are available. It is still a lot of huckster-driven trade that we have, and you have all of those issues, and these numbers that you quoted are not at all surprising to me, because you see it, you live it, you feel it on an almost daily basis, that the people are suffering, that the poverty levels are high. And as I said, it's even worse when it has to do with young people. When a 19 or 20-year-old should be dreaming of a life, of a good life and so on, they're literally worried to death. They're concerned. They don't have what it takes.
Yes.
And I don't know that the government can be in office for so long and be so uncaring, especially a government that had access to so much resources, that had so much available at its disposal to improve the lives of the people, to make a difference. None of that happened. Instead, we saw, money's been hidden overseas in bank accounts. We saw money's been given to all sorts of foreigners and so on, and the people of Dominica continue to suffer. And it is taking a very heavy toll on the young people of this country. Our young people are suffering, our young people are hurting, and we need to address this issue, and we need to address it quickly.
Yes, and so it leads me to the question, or to come to now, because ending poverty or a mere reduction of poverty, is an overarching objective, of the Sustainable Development Goals. And I know that you, as the leader of the United Workers' Party, you have proposed that 10 pillar plan to bring some level of, recovery and resuscitation in our economy. What can young people be assured of in this 10 pillar plan that for sure will spur them, inspire them to have hope and to see a brighter future ahead of them? Because some of them live in deplorable conditions. They cannot even bring their friends at their homes where they do not live in suitable homes. All these things can impair on their mental health. And so, what is it that in the 10 pillar plan that suits young persons that will allow them to say yes, at least? Because it's something that we have been saying all along, but it is worth repeating that young people hear what is there for them so that they can at least have that hope and confidence in actually retaining themselves or staying to help in nation building.
You know, there is so much that needs to be done as far as that is concerned. And again, talking to some persons in the apartment buildings that were just built, they have two main problems. One problem is that the apartments do not belong to them. And I'm going to address your question. I want to put
No
that
problem. That's part of
as
it.
a preamble.
Yeah.
There are two major problems. One is the buildings do not belong to them. They have zero ownership. The second one is that a number of these apartment buildings are leaking. They're
Leaking.
they're leaky or they're leaking when rain falls. This young person told me that they can't sleep. When it is raining in the room because all the bed gets wet. From the rain, and these apartments were hastily built of subpar quality. And I also fear that they may very well be mold infested because anytime you have apartment, anytime you have water going into a building like that on a consistent basis, that is going to set up mold. And I was warning that the people need to be careful that they may fall sick, because of this mold infestation. And so you have this situation, even the young people are confronted with that. And so our 10 pillars, as we say, there is a pillar for our youth, and the focus there or the aim of that pillar, specific pillar for the youth, is to not only to retain them, that's part of it, to retain our youth in Dominica, but also to improve their livelihoods. Okay. So at the heart of that strategy is job creation, because the young people are the ones that will get the jobs in the factories, that will get the jobs in supporting agriculture. I know a number of them may not necessarily want to go back to the field. Some will, but there are jobs that will be created in marketing, in advertising, different support services in shipping, in transportation, and so on. There are different support services that will be added or will come on stream as a result of a revamping of the agriculture sector. So lots of jobs will be opened up in this area. The whole idea of going into the knowledge-based industries and creating opportunities there, having our young people use their creativity to create apps, to work online, to link up with overseas firms while remaining in Dominica. These are all exciting opportunities that we are creating for young people. And we believe that they will be able to do that. That combined with a very streamlined focus on education, in the sense that we'll be looking at the areas of growth over the next several years, train these young people in those areas, and then have them come back to Dominica to contribute. So the future for the young people looks very, very bright on the United Workers' Party Team Dominica, because we are specifically planning, we are strategizing, we are developing different avenues that they can make money, that they can earn wealth, and more importantly, they can stay in Dominica and help to develop that country, because that is what we need. Dominica and the villages around Dominica, you may have heard me say that before, they are dying on the branch. They're literally fading away. And a lot of it has to do that the vibrancy of the young people are not there. The attacks that we speak about, the mental attacks on them, the violence against them, they are going through all of those stresses and pressure. And we believe that when we're able to develop these young people, when we are able to create these avenues to allow for sustainable jobs, in the factories that we plan to build, the water factories, the manufacturing plants, the agro-processing plants that will definitely set up around Dominica, there will be opportunities for the young people. And in addition to that, we'll be taking care of the mental health issues. We believe that a drug rehabilitation center in Dominica is needful at this time that will help to deal with the physical and emotional needs of young persons who may have gone down that track so that they can be rehabilitated and brought back into society. So we have a lot of good plans for the young people, and that's one of the reasons why the young people are continuing to be drawn to us. Young people are continuing to come forward and say, yes, they want to be a part of this vision. They want to be a part of that, of what we're trying to do. And it's something that we are very much committed to because we understand that the young people are at the very heart of what we need here in Dominica. They're the ones that are giving their time and the energy and the efforts to develop St. Kitts, Nevis, to develop Antigua, and to develop all of these countries around us. We need them here in Dominica, developing our country, working hard to build up this nature island, an island that we're all so very proud of, one that we believe has great opportunities and just endless options for young people. Those options will be worked on. Those options will be put forward. The resources we will get to push into those that will allow us to be able to build our young people and really have a very formidable group of young persons in this country that can take us forward.
Yes, and I will speak about the job rehabilitation center. I think it's something that is over requested. I mean, we have been from time to time over and over again asking for this as a party. In fact, in our manifestos, previous manifestos, we have highlighted this, and it's a very serious issue because up to earlier on, I just happened to run into an interview. It was done by one of the guys, taking jobs in Roseau. He was interviewed by two young ladies, and he actually said, look, he would have been probably some miles ahead of his ordeal if at all a job rehabilitation center was established, because the right personnel would have been there to guide him and probably would have taken the necessary steps to be properly rehabilitated. In the absence of that, he feels that that in itself was a neglect, and that in itself has caused him not to be able to get over his drug ordeal. So it's sad, and as you talk about it, I just was reminiscing and saying, look, it is something that is overdue, and we need to have that center so that due care and attention by the health specialists can come to the rescue of many young persons. And Doc, yes, for sure, as we draw closer to even into the festive season, Carnival, we know that past surveys have reflected that, and has brought to our attention as well. They have brought to our attention that young persons consume a lot of alcohol, and generally young boys, they consume more than ladies. I don't have to go to the statistics of it, but we are also saying that is also a period when young people feel they have to go out and free up and take out the burdens on their shoulder. But it is just a few days of activities, 2 days of jump up. But after all is done, the problems still exist. So I'm sure we'd like to guide young persons regarding their health and what alcohol can have, the effects again of alcohol on their health, because it's not that your problems are all gone after the 2 days of jump up, but we have to be responsible individuals to ensure that we don't overburden ourselves and get even closer to even contemplating, suicide. And so I know. Yes, so I wanted you to just, hit this call, get on board with the call for the festive season to be really looked at as a responsible time for us to be all responsible.
Yes, so indeed, and then it's interesting that you mentioned the alcohol. I mean, when you realize that you go into a village at 9 o'clock in the morning and already there are young people who are already out of it, already have had too much to drink at 9 in the morning. That tells you that you're in serious trouble, And one of the things I also noticed, not only in Sansova yesterday, but even in my own community and elsewhere that I've been around Dominica, you see that the young men are not in church on a Sunday morning. And the church is almost completely made up of grown women and children. And is something that I believe we have to really take a serious look at, people's spirituality and the fact that the young men are just nowhere. And all of that, I believe, has to do with where we are today. And in fact, I was able to comment on it and really urge that we pray for young people and pray for young men in particular. That spiritual aspect of it is certainly lacking. And as you say, this tendency, especially during, well, let me put it this way. There was a time when the drinking of alcohol and so on, and this heavy indulgence would happen only around those festive times. So people would work hard during the rest of the year and say, boy, this time I'm just freeing up. I'm just gonna go all out, right? That used to happen then. But now it's continuous. So what we see is just an added level that takes place during a season like we're having now. So during the carnival season, people indulge a lot more heavily than they otherwise would. But that is also an important thing to talk about. That people really need to be doing this in moderation. You can have a great time without getting to the point where you're so drunk you lose control of your senses, you lose control of your ability to take care of your own body and so on, and we see it both male and female indulge in equal quantities, and it's a real problem that we have, and it's something that I believe we need to call out, and we need to really urge our young people in particular to just drink in moderation, have a good time, but do it in a way that you will not regret later on because of your actions, and we see it all the time. I mean, I see it constantly, and I go up now that at home in my village on a daily basis. We have our young people who are indulgent. I'm like, guys, it would be nice to just, you guys really have to drink all week long, just you really don't have to. But I get the sense that people are doing that because that's one good way of drowning their sorrows. That's one good way of forgetting the hardships under which they have to live in this country. And so they continue drinking their lives away. And it is very, very sad. And it's another problem, huge problem that we have. And hence the reason we talked about the drug rehab center that we need for the young people, and really have our young people, and then the key thing as well to really get our young people away from these harmful habits is to have this emphasis once more on sports. We have lost that emphasis. We no longer have this great focus on sports. We used to have, football leagues outside of the national leagues. You would have football leagues playing. You would have cricket on a Sunday. You would have different guys going to different villages playing cricket and playing football and so on. Now, most of that is gone. They find it easier to play like a domino. Domino has taken over, and it has become the dominant sport, if you like. But it's not. It's not a healthy sport in the sense that it does not encourage physical movement or exercise, and so it's not the same as playing a game of cricket or playing a game of rounders or playing a game of football. And so it's something that we continue to really urge, and it's something that United Workers' Party government will ensure that we go back to that place where sports took center stage, so that people had an opportunity to get into sports. And the better you get in sports, the more you grow into it, is the less appetite you're going to have for alcohol, because you want to excel, and then bringing back competition amongst our schools at the primary school level. There was a time when we used to have at the primary schools, the primary schools would play against each other in cricket. So you had these really exciting rivalries. The various primary schools, they would jump on the bus, or at that time a truck, and go to the various villages and play cricket and so on. That built up camaraderie and helped the young people to aspire. So all of that we need to focus on. We need to bring back. That, I believe, will be one of the ways that we can stem that downward slide that we see amongst the young people, because we do have several issues there. We do have several issues, and that's one way that I believe it can be dealt with.
Okay, so at this point in time, we are going to take some reviews or some comments made by our audience. One of such comment is, we have someone saying this government is in power for 26 years. One would believe that they would have hands-on knowledge of the plight of young people. Yet every time an election is around the corner, they bring the young people in a forum to ask what are their concerns. Typical case in point, over the weekend, I heard the Prime Minister some time ago in last week talking about bringing young people in at Rosalie Bay and talking to them. What can you tell young people? You put them in a
Yeah,
crisis and you're trying to now mirror the whole thing and trying to get what young people. We're not interested in young people.
yeah, it's true. I mean, if after 26 years you don't know what the concerns are of the young people, where have you been? Where have you been? It's taken
That's correct.
you've been in office for 26 years, and you
Yes.
don't know what the concerns of the young people of this country are up to today.
And they
Wow,
come to you
that's
for everything
quite.
for help. Another
Yeah.
person, right away, we can say this program is yielding results because one person is saying, look, I am a former police officer and I'm willing to share my knowledge and experience in reflections to community ills, violence, and gun-related crimes. Wow. And I know that person. We can get in contact with that person easily. I know her very well. She's very well trained and she's knowledgeable in this area. She lives right now in the diaspora. She's outside of Dominica, but can lend her expertise. And Doc, right away, we see this program again is generating interest of persons who want to assist Dominica and their respective communities.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what we were talking about at the beginning, that there are people who are willing to give their expertise and the time in a bipartisan way to tackle that issue of the young people and the concerns and problems that we have with our young people.
Yes, and somebody else is saying, as you talk about this, the fish and the fishing villages, and the sort of, irresponsible announcement of $45,000 a day you can make in fish. Somebody saying, Maho has a lot of fish. Ask Blackmore how fish continue to fall on people's head as they pass on the road. I want to sarcastic, but it is just a good thing to remind people that those words were actually said, and yet we are not seeing any of these activities helping people to thrive and to live a better quality of life. Another comment there, UWP really improved local roads in their short time. I remember the road to the health center in Wesley was repaired every community day of service. It was bad. I went home in December of 1999 and I saw a new concrete road, which is still in good condition today, with only minor repair needed. I can remember too that Steve Benjamin at the time was the contractor. Many Wesley persons were employed. So you see, Doc, not only that the projects were undertaken, but it actually brought communities together and persons within the various communities they were employed. Yes, it would have been temporary employment, but the repair and maintenance work was so frequent that people were able to sustain even a short leave on projects, move from one to another. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the major differences, if you like, between the United Workers Party government and the Labour Party government. Labour Party government, they're doing stuff, but they're finding that Dominicans are not good enough, so they're bringing in foreigners to do work that we would otherwise have given to local contractors, so that the money remains in the village. Most of the schools that were built on the United Workers Party time, they were built by local contractors. The roads that were built, the many, many roads that were built, local contractors. The feeder roads, local contractors. But you have a government that has unfortunately favored foreigners over its own people. And we see time and time again, St. Lucians are brought in, from other parts of the Caribbean, Trinidadians and so on, and brought in to work. And we are not getting the work done by the people in our communities. And that's another thing that we are ensuring, that whenever we have those types of opportunities, that they go to the local contractors so that the money continues to circulate within the communities. And that is something that we were quite good at doing, and something that this particular government has actually gone away from.
Yes, and one young person is saying, remember, so thanks for the program. Tell Dr. Fontaine we are listening again. We are ready for his governance and his team. But importantly, we know that this government is fooling a lot of young persons. They have already tried to contact some persons in our community to gather us, but we have refused to gather again because we have gathered maybe about 14 times in that cycle of the government asking, and so they are not interested in gathering any longer. So yes, there are feedback, but I will still say if there is something that the government want to say, you could listen. But the point is, the young person is saying, look, they have been doing that over and over again, and it's just a cycle of lies. And and I just believe, like I've said before, that the Prime Minister who has put Dominica on all under that pressure with respect to visa restriction, just want to just mirror the issues to get away from the talking points. But it's not going to get away because the young people are suffering. There's no work for our ordinary persons. You have taken work from their grandparents, their parents. They are unable to do it, and they possess some of the skills that is required to do the work. See the largest capital project that is going on, in Dominica. How many Dominicans can you say with skills that are employed? See many of the health centers that were built, even the very apartments that they boast and they put on the TV. Ask how many Dominicans had contracts to build that. And so it is a government that is a government we can say that it's enemy to its own people, and that is very bad. And I just say that last week we promised a response to a question that was asked. Someone asked last week whether or not that the project at Debash continues. I will confirm with you, Doc, and I know you know that it's still going on because even today we had a mini protest by a few individuals at Debash. I think Nasio Fontaine or one of our music reggae stars from Dominica went up there and protest against that project. And you had Dr. IP, I think, and I subsequently heard that Joshua may have joined, but Mr. Joshua Francis may have joined them. And so it appears that notwithstanding you as the leader of the party have written to the government talking about full stoppage for evaluation and probably possible not continuing this project, and this government continues to be defiant and doesn't care about the derailing of the environment and its subsequent negative impact on the flora and fauna and possibly even our rainforest and even our water catchments. So it appears that this government is still defiant in its approach and will not relent. And so I know that you are concerned and you will continue to advocate that we need a stop to this project.
Yes, indeed. In fact, we did protest very, very strongly against what's going on there in Dewash. We highlighted the fact that no permits were secured for the extraction. We brought to light the fact that the Physical Planning Act was not was this was what was the term that it was violated. The act was violated in the sense that what the steps that had to be taken were not taken, and they called for an immediate halt to the quarrying taking place in Dewash. And so today we were very happy to see the formidable Nasio Fontaine literally coming out of obscurity, because he's been living quietly. He's not doing any music concerts or anything, and just basically living a very quiet life here in Dominica. And he put all of that aside today and came out very, very forcefully against what is going on. And so I just want to say that we stand together with Nasio, and he will be back on tomorrow along with Dr. IP and others. And I will urge those of us who can find a way to debauch to do that. Certainly, I plan to be out there myself tomorrow as well to show solidarity. And I believe that it's very important, for the people of Dominica to come out. I don't want this to be on political line. It's not United Workers' Party against the government of Dominica. It should be the people of Dominica standing up for the nature isle. And that's one of the reasons why, we're a bit hesitant to take the lead in it as a political party, because we think that this particular issue goes beyond political lines. Labor rights, as well as the Workers' Party supporters and others who may not have any affiliation, who may support any of the other parties, that they should look at this as a serious, serious problem for us in Dominica. When we can deface our mountains, when we can spoil our rivers, when we can do it in such a horrible manner, because you can feel and you can see already the destruction that is taking place there. This is a disaster in the making. a disaster in Debosh in the making, and it's something that needs to be stopped. And I'm very happy that Nasio has added his voice to this, and I believe that will help. It will help bring more international attention to it. Already, the news has gone out far and near, and I'm sure that we'll see a lot. Hopefully, it will bring a good result because we need that project stopped. We need that project ended in Debosh, and hopefully, the authorities will hit the call. All right. So again, those who can tomorrow come out in support and let us continue to send a very strong message to this government that this project is not worth it. And as Nasio said so clearly, the project, what is the benefit to Dominica if you build an airport and you lose your country? If you lose the nature isle of Dominica, then it's useless. Why would you even want an airport? You want an airport so that people can come and see the nature isle, but you should not destroy the country to get an airport. And I'm sure that there are alternatives that can be had to secure whatever it is that they claim they need. Those rocks, I'm sure Collio has the same volcanic material that is needed. There are other areas that are already exploited that can be used to get the same thing that they're going for there in Debosh. And so we hope the point is made and that cooler heads will prevail and that we'll see a reversal of that particular project.
Yes, and it makes sense, though, because you see, let us be straight here. I mean, I support the advocacy work that is going on with respect to talking about, opposition to what is happening at Debosh. Because let us be real. In 2015, we got struck by Storm Erica, and we saw the devastating effects of Erica until one village had to be displaced. You remember exactly the Piditsavan area that had to be displaced. The government took a decision to actually condemn the Piditsavan Road, the Piditsavan Road, because they said, look, it might be high risk, they may pose high risk with respect to the use of the road. You displace a village, subsequently the villagers are somewhere else, which means that you understand what soil erosion is, what you're talking about, landslides and the undermining of vegetation is. Okay, fair enough, that happened. Today, you are creating a man-made situation. Remember, it was a storm. It was inevitable. I mean, a storm, we couldn't stop it. But you're talking about now you have knowledge, lessons learned from what has happened during Storm Erica. You are telling me today, you are putting your human destructive hand into something and creating a disaster whereby subsequently the area might no longer be in use or is threatened to be in use. I mean, you have not learned any lessons. And I'm saying, if you can take this drastic action as a result of a storm, which we support, because you would have risen, the data you would have collected and analyzed would have told you straight, it might be risky to have the people live in the same area in Piditsavan. Although years have passed by, and many people are saying, well, they want to go back to their area because their house may not be under threat. Because some people still feel that their houses are in a strong position and it is in a position that is protected. But the government has taken a decision and we respect that. But today, you have patriotic Dominicans calling on you just because you want to fulfill a project. And we're not saying stop the airport. We are saying there are alternative sites that you can get the raw material that you require. But where you are doing this project now, stop it. And you should have learned a lesson based on what we experienced during Storm Erica. So this is a government that is defiant, stubborn, wicked, mischievous, neglecting Dominicans, not employing Dominicans. It is its biggest enemy to its people. It does not care about the well-being of its people. And it's just sad to see how government can actually react like this. Someone is saying, yeah, I was shocked when I was home in July to see the Wesley Health Center falling apart. On the other hand, the Wesley Government School was built. Let me see that. Yes. On the other hand, the Wesley Government School was built by a contractor from Calibishi around 1983. The school was standing without any structural damage until it was demolished for the airport project. I believe if the government was using our local contractors, we would have much better contractors and more skilled workers. Now that we have more civil engineers, our local construction industry would have sort of elevated. Doc, your response?
Oh no, without a doubt. That is, I mean, I could not agree more. The fact that we already had, and if you look at all of the major landmarks around Roseau, the old ministerial building, the social security building, the post office, the very very old post office that's now the museum, all of the buildings that have been used to house the banks and so on, all of those buildings, they were actually built by local contractors, and they have withstood the test of time. They have been there. um, they have been there. They have stood the test of time, and it shows that our contractors have what it takes. And the point this individual is making is that if you now add to that, if you add the civil engineers that are trained formally and so on, and you combine them with our skilled workers, that would make a formidable industry, a formidable sector for us. The unfortunate thing, a number of those top contractors have left for overseas. A number of our skilled masons, and carpenters, and joiners, and so on, they have left to go overseas to work in Saint Martin and in Antigua and elsewhere. But I believe that is something that we can bring back to Dominica. I believe that is something that by giving the opportunities to the young contractors and the local contractors to build their craft, to build their skills, that is something that we can actually do. And the benefits of keeping the money in the country cannot be overstated. That is exactly what we need to do. Ensure that the money stays in the country, circulates among our people. And that is how you grow. That's how you develop wealth. That's how you build the middle class. And that's how you build a very strong society. And that sadly so is lacking. And that's why we are continuing to agitate for the removal of this government. That's why we continue to call for the people of Dominica to rally with us and get rid of this government.
Oh, certainly.
Sorry. Yeah.
Certainly, and we understand the ripple effects or the domino effects that will have and the impact on the economy, because if your procurement is being sourced through local entrepreneurs, local business persons, and you get, I mean, not all, maybe you may have to outsource some of it, but a lot of the hardware companies, they could source a lot of the equipment and material, and so, and monies will be staying right here in Dominica, and they are the ones who actually help with respect to sort of alleviating the unemployment situation to an effect, because the private sector at least have a sizable amount of the labor force. And if you continue again to neglect your people, including those persons who have businesses, then you are just telling them later that they do not need to be open to sustain the local force. And so it's really, really an indictment of this government to just neglect all areas of interest, as particularly our business persons and our young people. But we want to tell Dominicans hold strong, and that we continue to solicit your support. And we are asking that you continue to contribute, because we have a rally coming up on the 1st of February 2025 at Grand Fort. And so far, things are looking up, but we continue to ask for your support, and you must support us through mobile banking. The ID is 555-2242, and the account number affiliated with this is 1005636. Let me repeat again, our mobile banking ID 555-2242, and the account number 1005636. Go in there and let us have something. I know it's hard work. We ask God to bless your finances. We know you are working hard, but you are supporting a worthy cause. We are talking for 26 years now, and we are making movement. We are uniting better than we have done before for the people of Dominica, and we are coming forward to ensure that we take over the reins of government. And even to our website, uwp-dominica.com, click on donation and go right ahead. You'll get the options, and you put something in there for us to continue to serve the people of Dominica. We need to boss people around. We need to transport people from community to community, or from their respective communities to Grand Fort. We need to pay for certain aspects of the whole event. We are asking for your support, and we're asking you to give us generously. And someone is saying there, Doc, I have no problem with the present Prime Minister. But I believe that the time has come to leave the stage before becoming too autocratic. Well caller, well viewer, well texter, I can tell you he has become autocratic. He has demonstrated that in many ways. And you can see right now, no one has any say. He does things how he wants. You notice when he concluded in a press conference, his ministers did not even know that he had agreed to take in refugees or persons of third countries, third country persons, citizens. And then some ministers stood in awe and watched in awe when he announced that. It was the first time they were hearing it. If you go back to the press conference, you'll have seen the reaction, some of them. And so he's become autocratic. He does what he wants. He says no law, no constitution that stop him. That is why he's been defiant with not finding an alternative spot to get stones or raw material to fulfill what they want to fulfill at the airport site. We're not saying stop the airport. Stopping the work at the bus doesn't give you a reason to stop the airport. We are simply saying that you can find another area where the same raw materials that you say you cannot find wherever it is, that you are finding at the bus, it can be found somewhere else. So we are saying, partner, the boat has left the port already. A full-blown autocracy right now, at least in principle. Doc, your reaction?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We continue to urge persons to further support behind this grand rally. It's a great opportunity for us to come together and show strength in numbers. February 1st, all roads lead to Grand Fort, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 until about 8 o'clock. We're going to be inviting every single Dominican, to make that journey. Buses will be arranged in the various communities across Dominica. And for those of you who may be overseas and who may not be able to be there with us, you can certainly help in the effort. As Soso said, we are accepting donations towards the fraying of the costs of the rally. Of course, we have to build a stage and so on. We have to boss people in. So we are put the information out there on your screen for you. Very easy. uwp-dominica.com. Click on donation. That way you can set up, if you like, you can set up a monthly donation amount that will go directly into the coffers of the party, or you can send money directly through our mobile banking at the National Bank of Dominica. So there are different ways in which you can support the effort. We certainly encourage that. As I said, we are looking forward very much to this. Quite a number of issues to talk about in this rally. Of course, the issue of the lack of political direction in this country, what's going on in the aftermath of the action taken by the U.S. authorities in Venezuela, what's going on with our own country, the partial travel ban that has been instituted by the United States, the fact that now Dominica has already signed on to take on refugees into that country, the issue of the young people that we spoke about, the mental health issues, the violence. So there are many, many issues that we want to address on the first, and we continue to address, obviously, as we go along, but we want to do so in a more forceful manner at the rally. So it's a great opportunity for us to come together, make it a date. That's why we started very early in the new year to remind you of that particular activity, this great national rally. A good time to be a part of it, a good time to participate, a good time to show our strength. And so that's exactly what we're looking forward to. It's exciting. I must say, so as I go around town and the number of people were saying they will be there. So the word is going out. People are finding out about it, and they're learning very much about what's going on, and they're excited to be participating in this grand national rally scheduled for the 1st of February under the theme, Putting Dominica First. So we're doing that for country, and we encourage you to be a part of it.
Yes, and I'm still want to encourage persons, because that's a leader who is listening, and his team, because you people yourselves, you have been asking for an outing, you have been asking for us to mobilize and to get out. Now that this call has been answered, we responded to it. You have to respond and come out in large numbers. We need you there in persons, but we in physical presence, but we also need your support financially to carry this through. Again, I will say the mobile banking ID 555-2242. And the account number is 1005636. And also you can visit us on our website, uwp-dominica.com. Go to donation, you'll see the option here. You go, you click, and you donate. But before I actually get you to actually just give a final word, let me just help with the cause of initially when we started, you talk about the violence, and I just want to add my voice to it that Dominica, we can do better than that. We do not have to trade invectives at each other, and we do not have to resolve our issues at really personally injuring each other. So I urge persons who have that intention to solve their issues amicably, talk to each other. I mean, issues may be tough, but there are certain things that you have to weigh and to, because you give the country a bad name when you actually create that kind of environment. Remember, investors are looking for potentially coming in when the United Workers Party comes in, and we cannot have a society where people will feel, that they are not safe. I mean, worldwide, you have murders taking place, but for a small country, we can do better than that. It is the nature island of the Caribbean. I just want to ask all young persons to be more vigilant. I mean, the hatred, just bury the hatchet on the old issues, but also to let us try to live clean with each other. Let us try to just live clean with each other, and I believe this will help us in a long way. One guy finally says that rally should have been like this week. We recognize that it is something that the people want. So, Doc, your final words as we part?
Well, certainly. So let me just remind our listeners, by the way, that tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the Public Service Union, we have a big call to action. The Electoral Reform Coalition will be providing additional information on some of the key issues that are impacting us now: the partial ban, the refugees coming into Dominica, the lack of electoral reform. All of those issues will be addressed tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. All right, so find a way there, come out. It will also be carried live on social media, but we need your presence there just for 2 hours, 7 to 9 o'clock, Tuesday, tomorrow, the 13th of January, at the PSU Center here in Roseau. A number of speakers will be tackling those issues. It's a collective effort of all the opposition parties here in Dominica under the banner of the Electoral Reform Coalition. So we encourage everyone to come out and to have your say as well. There'll be an opportunity for persons to contribute and to have their say, speak what's on your mind, but importantly, come out in your numbers tomorrow night. So we're looking forward to that. And of course, February 1st, don't forget, it's happening in grand form.
Yes,
to be excited. It will be great. It will be great.
That's correct. And just to finally say, somebody does say Happy New Year to So and Dr. Fontaine. So we do take that seriously. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. And thanks to everyone, and good night to all. And yeah, we'll see you on Thursday on the Workers' Voice.
Yes. Until next time, we say good night. Do have a blessed night. May God bless.
Thank you. Bye-bye.